Hello everyone, this is Chris slash Taterchimp slash Spudmonk and the man of many names. But today I just wanted to kind of do a test video using EDF for reference. Just purchased a full license of Fraps, so we'll see how that goes. Product placement, I guess. But I've been meaning to play through this game again on PC, kind of going through my Steam backlog. So I figured that this would be a pretty good game to start with, just to make sure that the mic will be working and everything like that. So basically, as you can see right now, I'm in a mech taking on giant robots and armies of insects. It's pretty fantastic. Pretty much for right now, the idea is just to consistently be moving and shooting. If you're not moving and you're not shooting, then you are dying and losing. So a while back, just the whole concept of being able to move and shoot in a fluid motion reminds me, we used to play a lot of Halo in college, specifically Halo 2 and Halo 3. Never did get around to reaching 4. But they let you create your own custom game modes in it. So we set up one that was for educational purposes, and we called it Trenton Training. Basically, the entire point of Trenton Training was that everybody had needles except for the guy named Trenton. Oh, right. Everybody had needlers except for him. So all that he had to do to win with, I think he had like a sword or a battle rifle or something, was just to move and shoot. But he never really followed the proper way of using 2 sticks in a shooter, so we actually were just able to bomb on it. So there comes that. Alright, goes down, enemies are down, now I can get out into playing as the jet. And you'll have to forgive me if I make some really boneheaded mistakes because it's been a while since I've played this, so I'm not really overly familiar with what the controls are again, but a little bit's coming back from muscle memory here, so at least there's that. Looks like we've got another mech over there, so I'm going to pick that up. Always pick up the weapon drops if you can. And my health is pretty much capped off, so it'd be a little bit of a waste to pick up more. Now, I seem to recall the strategy for these robots, especially on the higher difficulties. What you want to do is you want to utilize the mech to take out the big threats. So in that case, that would be these guys. These giant robots are called Hectors. So pretty much, if you can sacrifice your robot's health in order to take out the annoying enemies, it's totally worth it. In this case, the annoying enemies are big guys, and then later you can just kind of stomp around and get the spiders and all that. So as you can see, they take a decent amount of damage. They're able to soak something good. There he goes, and he should be dropping another weapon for us that we will pick up as soon as we cleared out the area a bit. But for now, giant spiders. Nightmare fuel for the arachnophobic. That is this game in a nutshell. I guess if you've never seen an EDF game, this is EDF Insect Armageddon. There is another one that's available for the Xbox 360 and I believe the PlayStation 3 as well. That's EDF 2017, I think it is. Same basic concept, they're giant monsters, you have to kill them with robots. Except for this one is a lot less creative. Basically there are fewer enemy types, longer levels but less levels. I think there's only about 15 total levels in the game, with 3 different tiers of difficulty, the last one being absolutely insane. But yeah, it's still I think it's still a good game. I know that compared to the rest of the series, it kind of missed the mark. A lot of people don't like it as much. I think reasons for that is, like I mentioned, just the kind of lack of variety in the enemies. A little bit of the pacing is kind of wonkier. But they did do some really interesting stuff by adding in classes. They added in revives in this one, I believe. Revives, making it so that way if you die, you can actually get back up. Before, if one person died, you were just out until the other person made it to the end of the mission. So there are instances where you'll be swarmed by an army of 50 ants, and there's just nothing you can do, so you're dead. And I need to figure out how to set myself on busy.
You're going to have to plant a charge to open it
that
back
only
up.
matters if I have friends. So gonna blow open a bridge.
I used to want to move here to this city. Damn, not anymore.
A lot of the appeal is okay, let's switch weapon, that's reload. A lot of the appeal is what your teammates say at times.
Acknowledged.
Alright, now this part is actually a little bit tricky. I'm just trying to get a feel for my weapons a bit. see which one would be best to use, and I think... Oh wow, that just doesn't seem effective. The reason why this part's going to be a pain is because you have to clear out enough ants where you can actually land a charge on the anthill. So that means you have to clear out the room, destroy the anthill, and pray that your teammates actually give you covering fire. Now, if you're playing with human AI, if you're playing with a human instead of the AI, this would be a much easier task. But as it stands, it's actually going to be significantly more difficult than it needs to be. This is me forgetting controls. So, alright, hill's down. So now all you have to do is take out some of these surrounding ants. And as you can see, this game has an active reload system. If you hit while it's in the white bar, then you reload it twice as fast. If you miss, then the rest of your reload is delayed. So a little bit of risk-reward constantly. It's not essential on any level to really get it down, but it certainly can help you get out of a tight situation. So I'm going to go for it. Still too many ants around. I'm going to cancel out of that. Basically, they can hit you out of your explosive animation. So you need, so you need to get a little bit lucky, which I did. So I guess explaining the bar on the left, obviously my health, you can see it going down at an accelerated rate. As you see on the mini-map at the top right, there are plenty of health picks up available, so we're not in any kind of dire straits just yet. The bar at the right is your combined remaining ammunition and special abilities bar. So I can fly, see, and that drains the bar, but also when I fire and reload, it also drains the bar slowly. So you do have to be careful of how you're consuming your power. Basically, you just can't let it dip down beneath 20 as long as you're flying. I forget if there's fall damage on the flight suit. I played through the first round as the, basically the medic, which, oh man, in some of the later levels of this, you're not going to see it, but having the medic is absolutely essential, because there are a few where you just have to kite enemies. I think it took me about an hour 45 to beat one level. Some of you may know which one that is, because it was just constantly kiting enemies, destroying them, getting damage in on a boss, retreating, healing, and then getting allies up. You only have a limited number of allies, so if they go down, you do have to save them if you want their help. And if you do not get their help on the harder difficulties, you are basically out of luck. It's worth mentioning I am on the easiest difficulty, which, I mean, it's not a cakewalk, but it's not super simple either. Oh man, that one guy hanging up there. Should have taken him out first. Oh well, it's not going to cost me this hill. So, play the objective. You will actually take damage if you're caught in the radius, so you do have to avoid that. Besides that, yeah, it's just a lot of running around, shooting giant insects, leveling up your dude. I guess we can talk about that aspect. It's going to be a while before we get there, if we get there. Oh, there's one more anthill than I thought. But pretty much, at the end of each level, you gain experience based on how many enemies you've defeated. As you gain experience, you gain the ability to purchase and use unlocked guns. Each gun is clearly in a tier better, so it's definitely in your best interest to level up, and very often what you'll want to do is just go back to the first few levels on a harder difficulty. Oh hey, cool, got an achievement. You'll want to go back to the easier the harder difficulties, but the easier levels to grind out some more levels, so that way you can take on the harder levels later on easier difficulties. I think I said that right. So, basically, it's worth it to grind out on higher difficulties to get your level up. It's also incredibly difficult, as some of your weapons can take many, many shots to kill even a single enemy on the hard difficulty of this game. And a lot of this I found when I was playing it was memorization of the weapon, or not the weapon, the enemy placements. If you know where they are, there are a lot of fixed spawns so that you can kind of save one enemy, leave it as a straggler, kind of in the way that they create the Shamblers in Call of Duty. Similar to that, where you just want to leave one alive, so that way as soon as you kill it, you trigger the next event and you're already there. If I ever do go back to the first level to show that off, there's definitely a few sections where an anthill will spawn, and you just, if you leave one ant alive, then you can be right at the hill when it pops up, be able to launch in some big splash damage weapons, and take out the hill with relative ease. If you don't, then you wind up with an army of ants. Army ants. Didn't even think of that. You end up with an army of ants that you're going to have to be fighting away before you can even get to the hill. And again, we're repeating, in harder difficulties, that's actually a problem. This is making it look a little bit trivial. So I believe up next is a spaceship spawn. Not the first time that we would see this in the game. Oh, that's right. This is... So, see, this is what I was saying. If I had remembered that this anthill was there, and especially if I had a weapon that could capitalize on it. Right now, this tri-rocket, I think it's a Goat Shriek. It's alright, but it's not the best. Big advantage of being able to fly is being able to position yourself tactically, which is more important than you would think in a game like this. I was actually, right before this, I was playing some Serious Sam, and I was kind of thinking that this game really goes back to, back to some of those old school philosophies of you have to constantly be moving, constantly be shooting. They're just waves of enemies that you have to take out, and then you have to play kind of a meta strategic placement objective. And that guy just missed me. I was just able to get that off in time. So, we should be good on that hill now. One of the other things, people complain a lot about this game, and I think that I can see the merit behind it because it is kind of, compared to the other games, it's not as grand in scale. One of the things that is cool about it is that there's a lot of strategic thinking about it. Before the mission select, which I didn't show off because we joined in mid-level, you can pick 2 weapons, and you only get 2 weapon slots. And there are basically 3 different kinds of enemies that you'll encounter. There are your standard enemies, your boss enemies, and then your flying enemies. So you need a weapon to be able to take out each. The problem being that there are 3 kinds, and you get 2 weapons. So pretty much in any given mission, you're going to be 1 weapon short of where you need to be. So for here, what I've done, and you see I used up all of my flying, so now I have to just run away while that recharges, which is really unfortunate. Didn't think that would happen. I think, oh yeah, I do have a little action roll. Oh, and I do have a jump too. Didn't realize I'd be able to jump and fly. So as I was saying, you want to think a little bit tactically with how you want your loadouts. So you see right here, we've got ground troops, we've got flying troops. So if there were a boss character in this right now, I would be having a little bit of a hard time with it. I think that those were the 3, but I could be wrong. So your machine guns are going to be really bad at taking out those flying guys. What you need for those are missile launchers like that. For the ground guys, the missile launchers, they're effective, but generally for things that have good heat seeking, they're a little bit weaker. So because you're able to actually get your shots where you need them, you can deal with them at that kind of on your own time. Actually, this is the same starting area where we were before. I was hoping I could get some health, but I can't, so we're just going to have to learn to live with that. I'm just going to fire indiscriminately in the air for a while. But I think if you had to pick one to skip, it'd definitely be the boss weapon, unless you know for a fact that the level's going to be, will require it. And that's basically because the flying guys can be a pretty major pain. Right now, you can see I am not doing so hot, but I was able to get a health pickup there, which is fortunate. So I think that the strategy here is focus on those wasps, because they're going to be kind of the most pain. The ships don't really matter right now, because the carrier is going to be spawning them indefinitely. So while taking them out is certainly going to be nice, it is not required. As for the ground troops, I'm kind of letting them do their own thing for right now, because, as you can see, the air is really where we're getting railed. And I believe it's similar to how the Hectors dropped items before, the Hornets will also drop items. And I missed my reload. As you can see, that also costs you a little bit of energy if you miss like that, so just another thing to keep in mind. There are different classes, like I said. Right now I'm playing as a guy with a jetpack. There is a class that is a medic that can revive people faster, and also has a little bit faster base movement speed. There is a class that has a shield, and there is a class that has... I think it's like turrets and other weapons like that, and I've actually not played that class in any detail. Speaking to the length of this game, if you just want to beat through on the easiest difficulty, I'd say it's maybe, a good like 10-hour romp. If you want to get through it though, on the hardest difficulty, which I don't know if they called it Inferno in this game, that's what it used to be in the other ones, but if you want to beat it on the hardest difficulty, you're going to need to spend, I would say, probably about 30 to 40 hours per class. And there's a lot of grinding involved, but the end reward is pretty fantastic. They, each class, I think there are either 7, 8, or 9 levels. How's that for being specific? There's different levels that you can get to. The second highest level is your hands-down best guns. That's where you'll get most of your damage dealers, that's where you'll get your primary weapons. But the highest level has the funniest guns. I've only seen one, and that gun is I think it's the insecticide cannon. Now, I'm gonna get these numbers wrong, because it's been a while since I've played this game. But basically, there are weapons that have a big AoE, which, again, have their place. This weapon has an AoE that if I were to fire it at that building back there, the tall one that my reticle's on right now, it might kill me. It is hilarious, and it takes something like 30 seconds to reload each time. And actually what I did for this game when I was playing it before, I basically had a spreadsheet that I had built to figure out what the DPS for each weapon is, because it gives you what the reload time is, what the damage is, what the clip size is, so you can actually figure out, pretty much if you figure out what the cycle time is to fire through an entire clip, multiply that by how many bullets, by how many, no, you take bullets times damage divided by cycle time for a clip, cycle time being rate of fire plus your reload speed. So that would be how much it takes if you started with an empty clip to get back to an empty clip. And that's how much damage you would do per second. So sometimes it's kind of counterintuitive, sometimes the weapons have some special properties, which we'll see if I continue on this. Well, for instance, so looking at this one, it bounces off the walls. So that's a special property that's going to make it a little bit less effective than it should be. They do a lot of that where it's just like, oh, it's wacky, so that's why you'll want to use it, except for it's not, because it's not the most efficient weapon. And you can see I'm able to get in a few shots on that guy, but his health isn't really going down too far. We have a heat-seeking weapon. We have nearly full health. We can get another bar up there, but I'm not going to shoot for it. Just going to kind of keep blasting up into the air. I know it's not much to look at, but we're just trying to focus on this boss, and we will not lock onto it unless his pod bay is open. And I believe that he will not deploy more enemies unless we kill the enemies that he drops. So we just kind of have to hold down the trigger, juke a little bit, and we should be fine. The biggest thing, you can have, there are some weapons that have very high burst damage, which of course means they have a long reload speed for balance. So what you want to do with those is you want to make sure that you have those reloaded as soon as those open. So if you are not able to get the full clip in there, then you are basically going to have a bad time. And I think I might actually be better off from a damage efficiency standpoint to switch to my machine gun to try and take out this shell. And I could see the argument that says that this process is tedious and that's why people didn't like it, but I raise you the fact that the previous EDF games. So, again, super riveting stuff, just waiting for the bays to open, firing some heat-seeking missiles into the air. I believe these have something like a C and automatic targeting. So, we're going to do this instead, which, yeah, it looks like we're getting in a few more hits. Plus we're able to get a reload, so yeah, we're probably getting a full 25 chamber. Maybe a little bit more, somewhere in the 35 range. So, that'll be good. We'll keep that one loaded while we wait for the doors to open. And we'll just fire our... Oh, it's the AT skillet. I could have looked. You'll see some other ones, I guarantee you, that are called Goat Shriek. Alright, looks like all the enemies are down, so we can actually just switch to the machine gun and wait. You can tell by the colors of the bays... Really, you don't say, Mr. EDF. You can tell by the bays the different colors that come up for it, how much damage the ship has taken. So that one is pretty dark, which means, yeah, almost dead. So there we go. Now I believe that this marks the end of this level, although it could go on a little bit further, I suppose. But we're just moving to the rally point. Getting the rally yak. Oh, dick move that this game can do. The spaceship, when you blow it up, can actually crash on you and kill you, so be careful of that. So yep, that will take care of this level. So there you go, first level of EDF. Hope you all enjoyed.